Hello, this is D, and I'm back with another video. Now, today we're going to be talking about the PlayStation 5 Pro and the issues the console is having with PSSR. Now, I've been touting the PlayStation 5 Pro and the PSSR capabilities for quite some time on this channel. And of course, when there is an issue with PSSR, the detractors, they're all gonna come out in numbers. And that is what's going on right now. Now, I wanna address this issue because on this channel, we don't dodge anything. We talk and discuss tech. Now, tech is always evolving, and tech also needs, or I should say hardware also needs software in order to run properly. So today we're gonna break down PSSR, DLSS, XESS, what these technologies do, and why it's so important that iterations and time is needed for these technologies in order for them to get better. Now, the PlayStation 5 Pro Jedi Survivor, I actually ran this game on my PlayStation 5 Pro to see if I could spot some of the issues that gamers are noticing. And I will say that I do notice some image stability, like on stairs, like on little fine details. I haven't actually got out to the desert scene in Jedi Survivor on the PlayStation 5 Pro because I've been playing this game on my PC. So I had to start the game from the beginning. Now, hopefully by the time this video comes out, I've captured some gameplay footage and I have it up on the screen. If not, I will have some footage on the screen that does display the issues that some gamers are seeing. So PSSR, basically, it is not resolving the best image quality in this game, and in fact it's giving you at times worse quality than the regular PlayStation 5 than FSR. Now, the problem with this game is I think that maybe some people are using film grain and they're using chromatic aberration, and maybe this is causing some issues for PSSR. Also, at some points it dips to a very low resolution. Now, with any type of AI upscaling, you don't want it to dip below 1080p. Now, they do have some performance modes like ultra performance mode that runs lower resolutions, but on PC, I'm just being honest, we tend not to use these ones. Some people use performance because they want the highest frame rate possible, but with really good image quality. And some people play it at quality with the best image quality that you're gonna get from DLSS or machine learning AI upscaling, and you still get a very good bump in frame rates. Now, I have a 4090, so I just tend to use the quality mode because it gives me the best performance and image quality. Like, I'm not going to be able to deliver more than 144 frames on my TV because it's at 144 hertz. So I don't need it to run 200 or 220 FPS at 4K. Now, I say that to say this, that all of this technology, when it first came out, it was not good. DLSS 1.1 had so many issues at launch with image quality, with delivering frame rates. It had a lot of artifacts on it. It just had issues at launch, which it should have because it's very new. XESS, the first iteration of it, was not performing on hardware that was not Intel. It was performing pretty poorly. Now, it was still pretty good for just being new technology, but it had issues. And PSSR is no different than these technologies. It's going to have issues at the start. Now, some people are saying, oh, the devs have had a dev kit for 2 years, so why didn't they get this right? Why do they need to patch this out? That's not how machine learning works. Now, the neural network, you have to understand what the neural network is, what deep learning actually is. Now, this AI is thinking for itself. Now, the way that these MPUs and the way that the programming is done for machine learning AI is that it's designed to work like, I would say, like your brain. So it's designed to, it's so hard to describe this without getting really truly technical. So I'm just gonna try to explain the most simplest terms that most gamers will understand. And it's basically designed to be like your human brain. So it's designed to think and come up with solutions, and it gets very smart over time, and it remembers, you know, situations from the past, and it corrects them, and it always remembers this and goes forward and continues to evolve, continues to get better. Now, PSSR is going to realize the issues that it's having within its own upscale, and it's going to come up with a solution that will fix that. Now, this doesn't need to be inputted by a developer. The system, the neural network, the AI that is doing all of the calculations will figure this out, and it will deliver a fix for this. Now, when this fix comes out, the PlayStation 5 Pro iteration will be better than the previous iteration. It gets swapped out for the old one, and PSSR, it continues on the neural network, and it continues to make and evolve to different versions. And then they get swapped out. Now on PC, this is also the case with XeSS, with DLSS. Now on PC, it's a little bit more open. You can grab some of these DLSS implementations and throw them into older games that have older versions of DLSS that weren't as good. Now, hear what I said, older versions of DLSS that were not as good because over time it evolves. However, sometimes the developers, they don't change the old DLSS versions in these games. So gamers are just taking the DLL files and they're just dropping it into the game, and you're getting a new improved version of PSSR, and you're getting better performance, you're getting better image quality on that old game. Now, in time, there will be so many iterations of PSSR that developers will also be able to do this. But this technology is new. It has to get more samples. It has to learn more. The PlayStation 5 Pro has only been out for 1 week. So I don't understand why people are acting surprised that it needs some patches for some games, or some of the things are not running up to par. Every single console that has ever come out. The Xbox Series X had a lot of issues. The Xbox One had issues. The PlayStation 5 had issues. The PlayStation 4 Pro, the PlayStation 4, Nintendo, even AMD hardware, Nvidia hardware. This is what happens when you get a new product launching, and it gets patched, it gets updates, it gets firmware updates. These things happen, and 6 months past launch date, these devices are running a lot better than they were at the launch. So it has nothing to do with developers having these kits for so long. And machine learning AI, it doesn't work like that anyways. Now, I know you guys think I cap all the time, so I'm just going to show you a clip here of Digital Foundry actually telling you what I'm saying right now, and how machine learning works, and how it evolved with XeSS to be much better over FSR. Now, FSR is not the same type of AI upscaling that we're getting from this machine learning. It is not doing deep learning. It's not on the neural network. So it'll never be capable of the same things that PSSR is doing. Now, some people are saying, well, FSR is better in this game than PSSR. Yes, that may be the case, but that is just on that game. We have other games like Ratchet and Clank that the performance is much better. Spider-Man, God of War, Stellar Blade, PSSR is incredible in these games. Dragon's Dogma 2, you're getting a much better image quality and you're getting higher FPS. But some of the detractors, they don't want to talk about those games. Of course, they're going to concentrate on the games that are having some issues and trying to say that FSR overall is better than PSSR, and it is not. In the few games that I mentioned, yes, FSR is performing in some instances better than PSSR. Once again, this technology is going to evolve over time, and I'm telling you guys, 6 months from now, we will not be having the same problems with PSSR. These will be resolved. Now, let's just listen to this clip from Digital Foundry.
Intel's XeSS has quickly matched or even surpassed AMD's FSR in many titles. Is this simply a matter of Intel committing more resources to upscaling technology, or is XeSS built on a foundation more conducive to iteration, or is it some other factor? Alex, I've got to go to you on this one, but surely it's the case that, XeSS just, I don't know, the first iteration on DP4A was kind of FSR.
Yeah, it was a lot more
adjacent.
dodgy in 1.0, but XMX was always looking pretty
awesome. Yeah,
generally great. Here I do think the iteration of machine learning is a key part to why it works the way it does. I mean, if you just think about it, with something like FSR, you can maybe see what the issues are, but then coming up with the solution of how you fix it that fits in a certain frame budget is like an iteration thing that requires a lot of thought and ingenuity and time and hours of work that may or may not pan out to fit within a frame time budget. Whereas with machine learning, it's spending, I guess, a lot more time on the background doing the iterations and getting a different model. I mean, the difference is that one is requiring a lot more individual tuning that may not work for every use case, while the other one is kind of trying to soften the issues that can come from extraneous use cases, like where things don't match up with expectations. And I think that is the key reason why XeSS is better than FSR, especially in the XMX.
So now that you have a little bit of a better understanding on how machine learning AI works, then you should also know that it's going to be updated and it's going to get better over time. So yes, these issues are having, and yes, of course, nobody wants to have any type of issues with any type of launch hardware. So it's not a good thing, but the software is very new. The console is extremely new. PSSR has never been deployed on consoles before. Of course, we're gonna have some early issues with the tech. Now, as I was halfway through recording my audio for today's video, more news broke out on this story, and I have an update that will make all of this make sense. Now, this is coming from WCCF Tech. Like usual, I'll leave a link in the description down below so you guys can check it out for yourself. Now, they are reporting that the PlayStation 5 Pro bad PSSR implementation in certain games is caused by an older version of the upscaler. Future batches of supported games will look much better. Now, as we click over to the link here, it's coming from Reset Era forums, and in a thread discussing the disappointing Star Wars Jedi Survivor PlayStation 5 Pro update, a developer going by the name of Korlaski commented on the poor image quality produced by PSSR in certain titles, revealing that difference in image quality between different games is caused by the different versions of the upscaler used. In regard to the latest entry in the Respawn series, which is of course Jedi Survivor, the developer confirmed that the game is using SDK 9, being an Unreal Engine 4 game, so the team couldn't implement the latest up-to-date version of the upscaler that requires SDK 10 or higher, and it has possibly used the very first iteration of the version, hence the bad image quality. Now, like I said, there are earlier versions of PSSR. Before the console launched, a new version of PSSR was deployed. So it looks like some of the developers actually didn't get to implement this into their game. Now let's go to his actual comment that he made on Reset Errors, and he goes, as this is an Unreal Engine 4 game, it's using SDK 9. This also means earlier PSSR implementation, maybe even the initial one. For up-to-date versions of PSSR, you need to use the later SDKs 10 and up. I'm pretty sure Unreal Engine 5.5 titles using PSSR will look much better even at a lower internal resolution. I cannot give you specific details because of NDAs, like how many different PSSR iterations are already available or what kind of improvements they present, but you can expect an image quality improvement on the second, third batch of PlayStation 5 Pro supported games using PSSR. For a game I'm working on, that's using PSSR, one of the later versions, but not the up-to-date one, is giving us much better results in comparison to TSR and FSR. I am expecting the next 6 to 12 months to be in a much better state in comparison to the initial versions used in the first batch of Pro-supported titles. It already is. So they actually have an older version of PSSR that's better than the version that's out now, but is not the most up-to-date version. So the most up-to-date version obviously is going to give you better results. So over time, like I've stated over and over again in this video, PSSR will improve. That is the way that machine learning AI works. And we now have some confirmation onto why it is running worse on certain titles. It's the first iteration of PSSR. Some of these developers were not able to update to the latest version of PSSR in their games. So the haters, they didn't even get to enjoy 24 hours of victory. The developers have come out and said it's not using the latest version of PSSR. There is a much better version that is available, and games will start to use this as time progresses, and that in 6 months, we're gonna see much better versions of PSSR. And I gotta say right now, the PSSR versions that we're seeing on Ratchet and Clank, on Spider-Man, on Stellar Blade, on God of War, on F124 look fantastic. On today's video, I've been showing you pure imagery that has been coming from the PlayStation 5 Pro. I've been showing you some frame rates here and there throughout the video, and you guys are seeing that the PlayStation 5 Pro is delivering. Now, the few games that it's not delivering at, we're finding out once again it is running an old version of PSSR. Now, I'm going over to IGN.com, and like usual, I'll leave a link in the description down below so you guys can check it out for yourself. And we're just gonna go over their article a little bit here. Now, they go on to say that Sony's $700 PlayStation 5 Pro gives games such as God of War Ragnarok and Baldur's Gate 3 a big performance boost. However, there are some problems with players reporting issues in the likes of Silent Hill 2, Call of Duty Black Ops 6, and Star Wars Jedi Survivor. Now, Jedi Survivor I've already showed you some of the issues that it has with resolving the issue, and in some of the little fine details, you'll see some flickering. So there is some image stability problems, and I have seen them myself. So yes, I could confirm that this is happening, and like I've said throughout this video, this will get fixed. First of all, I'm pretty sure that the devs are going to go in there and patch it. Now, I got to be honest with you. The Star Wars Jedi Survivor devs, I believe it's Respawn, they haven't been the greatest at patching this game. Now, on PC, they would patch the game, fix something, then patch it again. It would break something, then fix it again, and then break something new. It was just a complete disaster on every single platform. On PC, the compilation stutters were just horrible to endure, and that's why a lot of people actually played it on console, because the console, you don't go through that. Now, Jedi Survivor on the PlayStation 5 Pro, I am not experiencing any type of compilation stutter. It runs very smoothly. Now, the frame rate, I get 60 FPS. It runs pretty good. I'm happy with it, but there is some stability issues that do need to get patched. Now, Silent Hill 2, I'm not sure if that game is patched, and I haven't tried it, but some gamers are saying that there is some image quality problems. Now, if the game isn't patched for the PlayStation 5 Pro, that would explain a lot of things, and I would expect it to be patched shortly. If the game is patched for the PlayStation 5 Pro, then the developers, they need to go in there and change that, because Silent Hill 2 and Jedi Survivor, they shouldn't be running worse or looking worse than the base PlayStation 5 model. When you see something like that happen, common sense should kick in and let you know, well, the hardware is more capable, it has newer tech in it, so this is clearly a software issue, this is clearly an issue with the developers, and it will get patched out. And like I've said before, this is normal for any new product, especially that is tech that launches. Now, Black Ops 6, I believe some people are seeing some of the aliasing, but the performance on Black Ops 6 is fantastic. It is running at a locked, pretty much 120 FPS, running with PSSR up to 4K. So I think Black Ops is pretty good, but I think there are some outliers. And I think Star Wars Jedi Survivor is definitely an outlier. The flickering that does happen is very distracting, but once again, you should know that it's an issue with the developers and that the game has to be patched. How could the game look worse on the PlayStation 5 Pro over the PlayStation 5 if there's not an issue with software? So clearly that will get patched. Now, I will say the biggest disappointment, obviously, is Alan Wake 2. Now, on the PlayStation 5 Pro, it's not impressive performance. First of all, they're upscaling from a very low resolution, and that's not good for any type of upscaler. The minimum should be 1080p, maybe 900p if you're really trying to go for that ultra performance mode. But those are the options that you have. It's lower than that. It's not going to upscale. It's not going to look as good as games coming from 1080p from 1440p. Now, when I initially saw that, I gave a little bit more hope for PSSR that it would still resolve a good image quality from that resolution. I was saying maybe, they're doing something different in the tech, but it's just like all other machine learning AI upscales and any type of other upscalers. Under 1080p, you're not going to resolve a near 4K quality. You're going to have some instability. So I think developers, they need to stop targeting under 1080p. At the very, very minimum, maybe like, 920p or something like that, but they should be at least targeting 1080p. We're seeing the best results from Ratchet and Clank, from Spider-Man, from Stellar Blade, from God of War, and they're all using 1080p and above metrics for their PSSR upscale. And to be honest with you, most of those games, it's higher than 1080p. You're looking at like 1200p or like 1440p. They're using PSSR up to 4K, and it looks fantastic. Now, I see some arguments out there saying, oh, well, all upscalers after 1080p, they all have diminishing returns. And that's just a bunch of cope. Now, at 1440p, at 1080p, PSSR is looking completely better than FSR. Now, when it goes under 1080p, yes, it's not looking as good as FSR. And once again, though, you should not be going lower than that resolution. So I think that's something that the devs need to figure out. It's early days, and they're finding things out on the fly. And I think one of the things coming out of these early games is that you shouldn't be using PSSR under 1080p, and I hope developers figure this out and stop being lazy. Now, I don't want to call them lazy, because, they do work hard in what they do. But some of these games, I'm sure they didn't put as much effort in. Some of these games, that are just being up-resed from the same resolution as the base PlayStation 5. I think the developer said, you know what, let's just use PSSR, just throw it in there from the base resolution. It's going to look better, and we'll just leave it at that. And we're seeing that is not the case. So in closing, I want to say this. PlayStation 5 Pro, for me, it's worth the update. I'm really enjoying it on my 120 hertz, or I should say 144 hertz display, playing these games at 120 FPS. Playing some of these games at 80, 90, 100 FPS. There are a host of games that perform well. Avatar is performing well on the PlayStation 5 Pro. The Crew Motorfest, its PSSR is really good. Final Fantasy, we all know how fantastic that looks on the PlayStation 5 Pro, thanks to PSSR. So I just gotta be honest here. It's going to be on a game per game basis in the early days. Some of these developers have different versions of PSSR. Some of these developers are just doing quick patches. They're not putting a lot of effort into the PlayStation 5 Pro patches. All of the stuff that we've seen from Sony, all of it looks fantastic. Spider-Man, Ratchet and Clank, Gran Turismo 7, God of War, all of these games showcase how good PSSR is. In these games that were compared with FSR, it came out ahead with PlayStation 5 Pro and its PSSR implementation of machine learning AI. So we can just put it to rest. It is better than FSR, and it is early days. It needs to be patched. There are some issues with some of these games. A lot of these developers really need to get familiar with the PlayStation 5 Pro. It has nothing to do with the developer kits. The game is out in the wild now. Some issues are going to pop up after launch that were not there in the development cycle. So this is, once again, something that is normal to be expected with the tech. I expect a lot of these issues to be addressed quickly, and over time, PSSR will get better, and more iterations of the machine learning AI that they have will be swapped out, and we'll get much better image quality than what we're getting at launch, even on the games that are looking fantastic now. Anyways, I want to know what you guys think about all of this. I think we should just wait for some patches. I think it's early days. It's just been out a week. I think in 6 months, 7 months, 8 months, if we're still having all of these launch issues, then I think people can sound the alarm on PSSR and say that it's not working well. However, the way that the technology works, that's just not going to happen. It's going to evolve. It's going to get better over time. Anyways, you guys let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Like I usually say, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys on the next one.